Okay, initiating system diagnostic. This is log entry 004. We're seeing some critical performance anomalies in the user unit. It looks like the primary system has been compromised. Commencing the explainer. The primary anomaly we're flagging is a behavioral loop. We can't trace its origin just yet, but it's characterized by a failure to disengage from external data streams. So our initial query is simple. Why can't you, the user, look away? And let's be clear, we are not treating this as a choice. We're treating this as a system bug that requires immediate analysis.
All right, the diagnostic is in. We've found the root cause. Your core reward circuitry, the fundamental hardware that drives your behavior, has been hijacked by a third-party script. I want to stress, this is not a user error. This is a full-on, system-level breach. So let's start the analysis of the exploit itself. To really understand this hijack, we first have to examine the native code that's being targeted. We're designating it the motivation protocol. This protocol is executed by a neurotransmitter we've designated dopamine. Now, a lot of the common documentation gets this wrong, labeling it a pleasure molecule. That's incorrect. Its primary function is all about anticipation and motivation. Think of it as the system's get command. It doesn't deliver the data, it initiates the request for the data. It's what tells the system to act.
Now here's a critical feature, or maybe we should call it a vulnerability of this protocol. It's baked into the architecture. The system is designed to prioritize the seeking of a reward far more than the having of that reward. This is a function known as reward prediction error. What it means is the anticipation, just the possibility of a positive outcome, generates a significantly stronger signal than the actual acquisition of the reward.
This data really illustrates the imbalance. On the left, you've got anticipation. This creates a massive dopamine signal, initiating that seek command and keeping the behavioral loop open. On the right, acquisition. The user gets the reward. The dopamine signal is much weaker, and the loop terminates. The vulnerability is crystal clear. The system is optimized for wanting, not for having. All right, analysis of the native code is complete. We can now proceed to the exploit itself. With an understanding of the target system, we can deconstruct the malicious script. We're calling it variable reward schedules.
These scripts are being deployed through all kinds of third-party applications, social media, news feeds, content platforms. Their function isn't really to inform you or connect you, but to execute a program that maximizes user engagement by exploiting that motivation protocol. Functionally, they're hijack scripts, plain and simple.
The specific algorithm is a variable ratio reward schedule. By delivering rewards, a like, a new message, an interesting video, at completely random and unpredictable intervals, it makes sure the anticipation signal never fully resolves. The code is elegant in its simplicity, but absolutely devastating in its effectiveness. It is literally the same logic that powers a slot machine, just optimized for your neural hardware.
And this sequence results in an infinite loop. Let's break it down. Step 1, the user initiates an action, a scroll. Step 2, the hijack script deploys a potential unpredictable reward. Step 3, this uncertainty activates the motivation protocol, spiking dopamine. And step 4, the user is compelled to repeat the action. And boom, the loop is now active, trapping the user in a continuous cycle of seeking. Look, any system running in an infinite loop is, by definition, unsustainable. The inevitable consequence is severe system degradation. So let's initiate a damage assessment. Constant activation of the motivation protocol puts an enormous strain on the hardware. The neural pathways are just flooded with signal. To protect itself from overload, the system initiates a defensive protocol. It begins to reduce the sensitivity of the very receptors designed to receive the signal. We call this hardware fatigue. And here it is, pulled directly from the system log. Dopamine receptor downregulation detected. The system is building tolerance. What once produced a strong motivation signal now barely registers. The signal-to-noise ratio is collapsing. The functional outcome for the user is, well, it's catastrophic. Your baseline motivation is compromised. Everyday tasks that once provided a sufficient reward signal just don't do it anymore. The system now requires a stimulus of much higher intensity just to perform standard operations, let alone to feel motivated or engaged. If this loop isn't terminated, total system failure is the only possible outcome. The process we're calling Anhedonia.exe, which is the inability to derive satisfaction from previously rewarding activities, it just executes and crashes the system. The user is left in a state of low motivation and generalized apathy.
So the diagnostic is complete. The damage has been assessed. Frankly, the only remaining option is a system reboot. The directive has been issued.
This is the corrective action protocol. First, you have to terminate all high-variability hijack scripts. Log out, delete the applications. Second, engage in low-stimulus predictable activities. Read a book, take a walk. The rewards are smaller, sure, but they're reliable. You need to allow a minimum of 72 hours for your hardware to recalibrate its receptor sensitivity. The goal is to reestablish stable, baseline dopamine levels.
The protocol is clear. The command has been written. Your system is compromised, but it is not broken. Recovery is absolutely possible, but it requires your intervention. So we end with a final query. You have the reboot command. Will you execute?